Hello, Kanji FPL. Welcome back to the therapist office. How was your game week this week?
Hey, buddy, this game is bloody bananas. This is bananas. I mean, think about it. I wildcard early because my team is in disarray. So many problems, injuries, I don't know what to do. So I wildcard early and I'm thinking, okay, I can go without Ollie Watkins. You know why? Because against Sheffield United at home, he blanked and I captained him. He missed chance after chance. I felt no problems going against him. And then guess what? Away from home versus Sheffield United, 20 points. Bloody bullshit, yaar. And then I go with Dominic Solanke as the alternative. Very cheap guy, good value, 7.1, very good team, averaging 5 points per match, no problem. But what did he do at home versus Nottingham Forest? Blank. What did he do away from home versus Nottingham Forest? Hat-trick. This is bloody bullshit, man.
Well, you can't win every single week. As long as you're a winner over the long term, it's not that bad. I mean, you got to look pretty good next week, right?
Honestly, man, I don't know what to do. I'm going down 200k in rank this week, and I take another -8 this week. No problem. 100k to 1 million in 2 weeks. Excellent.
Oh wow, I'm so sorry it's not going as you planned. Well, listen, at the end of the day, it's just a game, right?
It's just a game? Are you crazy or what, man?
Right. So I don't mean to be offensive, but at least you just got your thoughts out there, so you're feeling a little bit more at peace, and you're always welcome back anytime, bro.
Oh, I'll be back. I'll be back very soon. Trust me, man. How's it going, guys? It's your boy Kanji FPL, and welcome back to the channel. Hopefully I can make you guys laugh because it's been a pretty miserable last couple weeks in FPL from my perspective. Like, I wildcarded early to get ahead of like the what I thought the template would move to, and I made a lot of good decisions, tripling up on Liverpool, tripling up on Man City. Really glad that I spread the money to make sure I got to KDB, especially with Salah being out. And because of the fact he's not in training, I don't think he's going to be a factor in the Burnley game. And I think he'll have his minutes managed in the double game week in 25. So I don't think he's even worth owning in 25. So I'm really glad I spread the money around, went for KDB. But apart from that, my wildcard has kind of been a disaster. There's a lot of like failures, things that just didn't really work out. I mean, going against Cole Palmer, going against Watkins. I mean, you can't own everyone. Like, at least I had Foden for his haul, but it just seems like there's points everywhere. And like, assets are so well priced in this game. Like, they're just so cheap that like you can have hauls from so many different players. Like, it's just unreal. And I just feel like the end of season is going to be crazy in terms of variance. Like, I'm just looking at all the doubles and blanks that are coming up. It's going to be hell for most people without chips. But luckily, I still have my free hit. I still have my bench boost. I still have my triple captain. So I have a lot of routes to rise up in the ranks. But right now, to go from around 100k 2 weeks ago to where I am right now, which is at 500k, it's just annoying. Like, it sucks, especially when you put a lot of time and effort into making content and trying to do as well as you can in FPL. But it just shows you how much we don't have in control. I mean, just think about that idea of like, at home I captain Watkins and he blanks. Away from home against Sheffield United, he gets 20 points. Like, that's mad. Like, that's just negative variance if I've ever seen it, right? And then I think the same thing with Solanke, where it's like he got a hat trick away from home against Forest, and then at home he blanks. Like, that's just crazy. It's just one of those things, like, that's just FPL. And like, when you play FPL, you have to learn to live with things like this. And so if anyone else is out there and you're going through similar thoughts or in similar situations, that's just how the cookie crumbles. And you're just hoping that when the season ends, you'll have your fair share of green arrows and positive variance. So I'm just hoping that at some point, something will come my way and I'll be able to net the next haul. And like, that's the goal. Is like, not to chase last week's points, but to predict the future points. And that's what you'll see with the transfers that I'm going to be making. I know they look outside the box. It sounds absolutely ridiculous to be taking a -8 after getting another red arrow, but I feel like there's just so much upside that has to come. Like, there's just so much to talk about. So let's jump right into it. Two players that are returning to the Premier League from the Asian Cup are Hwang Hee-chan and Heung-min Son after being knocked out of the Asian Cup. And both of them are actually great FPL picks because they are on penalties for their respective Premier League teams. In fact, I'm really going to be monitoring Spurs because I think the way Postecoglou plays football, they're very attacking. So Maddison, Richarlison, and Son are all on the radar. But the question to me is, do I double up with Maddison and Richarlison, or do I go for Son and go for a differential like Hwang Hee-chan at 5.5? From a value perspective, they both are similar. So it just comes down to, the expected minutes that I'm expecting to see from Richarlison. Because right now, he's super hot. He's in form. I think he has like 5 goals in 5 matches. He's playing really well, where it's like everything he touches is just turning to gold. So I think he's playing great. The question is that now that Son is back in the fold, does that put Son back on the left wing? Richarlison is staying up top for 90 minutes? Or does the fact that Son is back mean that he's the 90-minute man and Richarlison is the one getting subbed off after 75 minutes? Because those expected minutes will make a difference to me in terms of just the combination I decide to go with longer term. Right now, my gut is just telling me to go for Son and Hwang Hee-Chen because they're both on penalties. They're both nailed 90-minute men. And I think with the fact that Son is back in the fold, I think Richarlison's minutes will go down. And so I just think he'll be a less valuable pick. So that's just where my mind is right now. But I'm hoping to see that come to fruition. However, if Richarlison is continuing to play 90 minutes over the next couple weeks, then I think I would go with Maddison and Richarlison just because Richarlison gets big chances. And I just think Timo Werner is not really a factor. So it's just the main players of Son and Richarlison that I'm really worried about in terms of coverage. And I think the way Postecoglou plays football, there's just so much to love about the way they play. There's so much upside to be had there. So doubling up, even if they're lower price picks and they're not on penalties, I still think those are good assets. Like Maddison is an XG overperformer, so I'd have no concern going to him, doubling up with Richarlison. So it's going to be nice to see what Son's impact will be on Spurs. The next thing to discuss is going to be Bournemouth's double game week with Luton. Now, when I wildcarded, I did triple up on Bournemouth because I had expected a double game week to come. I didn't know when it was going to come, but I knew it was going to be on the way. So I already have my triple Bournemouth. I've got Solanke, who I think is going to be essential at this point in the season. And then I've got a Bournemouth defender. So I'm hoping that they could potentially keep a clean sheet along the way. But the players I really want to discuss is going to be Luton because I just think there's a lot of upside to be had. And so I want to give a special shout out to FPL Pat, who announced that he actually heard about the double game week before it was actually released by the Premier League. So that could be somebody that if you're on Twitter, somebody you'd like to follow because they could potentially have some insider info. But anyway, when I look at the Luton fixtures, I just think that there's upside. I mean, think about it. Sheffield United at home this week. Then there's a double game week with Manchester United at home and Liverpool away. They blink in 26 and they play Aston Villa at home in 27. So hopefully you'll be able to bench them in that week. And then they have a double game week against Crystal Palace away and Bournemouth away. And again, listen, it's very hard to pick up clean sheets in FPL. But when I look at this and I'm just thinking to myself, like, why not just take a -4, bring in Kaminsky, he'll have an extra fixture or two relative to whatever keeper that you choose. And the same thing with Alfie Doughty. The reason why I'm a big fan of Alfie Doughty is he reminds me of the way that Trent is, where he's so talismanic on the set pieces, on like the corners, the free kicks, and I find that the plays just like go through him for Luton. And I don't know how to look at Luton as they're like a poor team, or are they like a solid team, or are they a good team? Like it really confuses me because they've put up 2 clean sheets in the last 5. Alfie Doughty has a return in 3 of the last 5 from an attacking perspective. So I think Doughty's a no-brainer. Even for a -4, no problem. Kaminsky, I don't know if that's going to work out. However, the icing on top is the fact that they played Nottingham Forest in Game Week 29. Now, Nottingham Forest are still in the FA Cup. So if they advance, that would be a blank in Game Week 29, and I'm currently on a free hit 29 strategy. So that could mean that Kaminsky and Alfie Doughty could be very good value options for the end of season, because that means that if they blank in 29, that means they double in 34 or 37. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I am full on taking a -8 to bring in Kaminsky and Alfie Doughty. Like, who in the world would have thought of that when the season started? But that's just how FPL is, baby. It's one of those things. All right, let's move on to my Game Week 24 team selection, and a -8 has been taken, and I've already mentioned it, and we have Gehi to Alfie Doughty and Areola to Kaminsky. Now, the third transfer, which I'm going to be calling as my free transfer, is going to be Ibrice Eze to Luis Diaz. I mean, it would be ridiculous to be going without 3 Liverpool, given the fact that they have Burnley and then a double game week next week with Luton. So it's just obvious to go to Luis Diaz, especially given the fact that Salah is out. Ideally, this would have been Darwin, but I knew that Darwin was going to be benched last week, so I had to sell him, and I felt like the asset to go for was either Ivan Toney or Dominic Solanke, and I felt like it would be better to go to Solanke because I want to save my transfers for the long term. You never know when you're going to need your transfers. I mean, look, I'm already taking a -8 this week. If I brought in somebody like Toney, he'd have to get like a -8 to outscore that because I knew eventually I'm going to want Solanke. So, yeah, I'm cool to just have Solanke and own him. Solanke also plays in the blank Game Week 26, and he potentially blanks in 29, which means he'll also double in 34 or 37. So I think Solanke is pretty much a season hold for me till maybe the last 4 or 5 weeks where I can consider selling him. Until then, I'm happy to have Solanke and Haaland up top. And again, triple Liverpool and triple City just makes a lot of sense at this point in the season. They have a good fixture in 24 and they have a double game week in 25. So I'm happy with my team as a whole. I just think that not having triple Liverpool right now is a mistake. There's huge upside to be had. In fact, my captaincy is currently on Diego Jota. I know that sounds crazy and, I could really be punished by Erling Haaland, but it's just one of those things where you just have to back your gut. And my gut tells me that I can see Liverpool scoring 4 or 5 goals against Burnley, and I don't think I could see the same upside with Man City against Everton. I know, when they played Everton earlier in the season, they won 3-1, and that was without KDB and Haaland. Imagine what they could do with those two back in the team. But there's 2 factors. One, they're the early kickoff, and Gandhi says don't back the early kickoff, right? And the second thing is that I just think Jota is clinical. Whenever Salah is not in the squad, he plays as a winger, but he's more so like an inside forward. So he just gets lots of chances. And I think, listen, if you're going to take a punt and you're going to go against Haaland as captaincy, you just got to go for somebody from Liverpool. I think Jota has the highest upside. Even though he's not on penalties, I know it's a punt, but I just think there's a chance you could get a massive haul here, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. The other player that I'm considering captaining this week would be Trent Alexander-Arnold. The only thing drawing me back is that his expected minutes are very low. In fact, when Liverpool were playing against Arsenal and it was 1-1, Klopp subbed off Trent before the 60th minute. I couldn't even imagine how I would feel if it was like 3-0 and Klopp subbed off Trent after the 50th minute. I would be fuming. So imagine captaining somebody like that. That would genuinely ruin my weekend. So I just don't think I want to take that type of risk. I mean, he's just coming off the injury. Klopp is trying to protect him. I understand that. And the way that the understudy, Connor Bradley, has been playing, it just makes sense that at some point Trent will get subbed in this game. So I think I'm better off just owning Trent, especially from an EO perspective. I don't even think the Liverpool defense EO is that high. So I'm happy to own him. And I don't think I need to captain him in order to enjoy his points. But if this was a different position, like if we were in a time where Trent didn't get injured, Trent would be easily my favorite captain this week, but we're not in that situation. And given the circumstances that we are now, it's either Diego Jota or it's Erling Haaland. I'm going to wait till the Liverpool press conference comes out tomorrow to see if Salah is going to be in the squad. If there's a chance he's going to make the squad, then my captaincy will automatically move to Erling Haaland because I know I'm already taking a suboptimal punt. Listen, I'm a Liverpool fan. I think Liverpool are going to dispatch with Burnley with no problems. I'll probably win the first half, win the second half, easily probably 3-0 win. That's what I'm expecting. And so that is why I do want to captain somebody from this fixture. But that's currently what I'm thinking right now. And I think if there's anyone else you consider captaining, it's actually going to be the fixture that I left off of this screenshot. It's going to be Cole Palmer versus Crystal Palace because Crystal Palace look awful and Palmer's on the pens and Chelsea have been playing pretty solid recently. So there's a chance Palmer has really high upside. So if you're looking to be differential, my shoutouts would be Diego Jota, Trent, or Cole Palmer. But apart from that, just stick the armband on the Norwegian Beast and you can't really have any complaints. The last section of this video is going to be me going through my chip strategies because the way that I'm making my decisions, everything is factored into my chip strategy, which is to free hit in game week 29 and to bench boost in game week 37 when Ben Crellin is expecting to have the most double game weeks. So just keeping it very simple, that means that I have to triple captain in one of the other weeks this season. So there are 5 potential triple captain options, 2 of which are going to happen in game week 36, but they're not confirmed. But the 3 triple captain options on the first row are 100% likely. Means that they will definitely happen. So it's either Haaland, who has Chelsea at home and Brentford at home, Solanke, who has Sheffield United at home and Luton at home, and Saka, who has Chelsea at home and Wolves away. Now, there's a lot of factors to consider. From a fixtures perspective, Solanke is easily the best choice. But when you think about it from a player perspective, Haaland is easily the best player. But then when I think about it, in FPL, you always really want to put your captaincy on a mid because they're just so much more explosive. They get more points for a goal. They get clean sheet points if they ever happen. And I feel like, Saka could be a low-key shout in game week 34. However, my instinct is just leaning me more so towards Solanke. And I know that sounds unreal because Haaland and Saka are like bread and butter FPL picks. They're household names. Like everybody knows them. If you put a triple captaincy on a player like that, it'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Like I trust them. They're good FPL picks. But the upside in the fixture for Solanke is huge. And the way that I'm thinking about this is that it really just comes down to Haaland and Solanke. For me, Saka is more of like a tertiary option because of how great the fixtures are for Bournemouth. I think it's really hard to look away from Solanke. However, Haaland has huge upside himself. One thing to keep in mind in terms of who you choose for triple captaincy, the games are going to be really game state dependent. As an example, when Man City play Brentford, Brentford are going to sit really deep, especially given the fact that Man City are going to be home. And I don't think that'll leave any space in behind for somebody like Haaland. So he's not really going to have the space to thrive in. And that's why I am very comfortable going against Haaland. However, 2 home games, one of them being Chelsea. Chelsea are cheeks, bro. Their defense is not good. Like, I'm expecting City to win that game easily, but that's the thing. It's all going to be game state dependent. Like, what if Chelsea keep it tight? You know, they just went out there, they played Aston Villa away from home in the FA Cup, and they played really well, and they won that game. Aston Villa barely had a sniff that game. So I just think, I don't know. I just feel like the upside in those 2 fixtures specifically for Haaland are lower than they are in most fixtures. And I feel like that is exactly the type of thing that I would want to bet against, but it is Erling Haaland. And he's on the cover of FIFA. He's like the main player in FPL. Like, he's like the hero. He's like the main character. So going against him, that's like huge risk. I would obviously captain him in this week, but yeah, not triple captaining him could be a massive mistake because he's by far the best player in the game. You know, in one game alone, he could just get a hat trick. So I don't think Solanke has the potential to do that. However, in those 2 fixtures specifically, he does have that type of potential. So it's it's a really tough decision, to be honest with you. But my instinct is really leading me more towards Solanke. The only reason that I'm feeling this way is that I haven't really seen Haaland do anything recently. You know, sometimes, you know, when a player's injured, you forget how good they are. And I think I'm falling into that sort of bias in that situation. And I feel like if he goes out there, plays against Everton and gets a brace, that might change my mind. But currently, I am leaning more so towards captaining Solanke versus Sheffield United at home and Luton at home. And if we get to Gameweek 28, and we know for sure that Spurs are going to have a double game week in 36, I think Son would actually be my triple captaincy shout over Saka. I know that sounds crazy, but whenever I think about attacking football, Spurs, Man City, and Liverpool are the 3 teams I think about. Not really Arsenal. But the way that Arsenal are playing recently, they've been scoring a lot of goals. So maybe I have to change my mind about that. But, you know, away from home, it doesn't really scare me at all because that means there's going to be a lot of space in behind for a player like Heung-min Son. So, listen, like, Son has won the Golden Boot before. You know, like, you got to put a lot of respect on Son's name. So I'm really, really interested to captain Heung-min Son in a fixture like that. But I think even owning somebody like Son would be a massive differential because I think players are going to go for Maddison, go for Richarlison. You know, you don't even need to triple captain somebody like Son in a fixture like that. So really, it just leaves me with the top 3 options, and my gut is more so leaning me towards Solanke just because of how great the fixtures are. But I wouldn't be surprised if I change my mind after Haaland's performance this week. Alright guys, so that's it. Thank you so much for listening. If I provided some value to you over the course of this video, please just drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all again soon. Peace.